Welcome back. In my past few videos, I've been mostly playing bots, and that was by design. Some of those bots are limited time only, so I had to play them then, and the bots right before that I was playing were at my son's suggestion. But part of my Chess Everyday program that I've been working on is to do at least a few different things each day. And one of the things that I haven't done in a while is analyze some games. I have a little bit of a backlog of rapid games over on Lichess that I need to analyze. This is last night's game at the position in which I lost and being checkmated after move 77. According to the chart here, I was behind most of the way. Apparently there were some ups and downs right here as we transitioned from the opening into the middle game, and I had a couple of chances here. I'm going to look at each one of those positions trying to figure out what I should have played instead of what I did play, and in order to not see what I should have played over in the right column, I'm going to click the Z key, which will erase those suggestions, which in my opinion shouldn't be there in the first place. And here what I did play was knight to f3. That seemed pretty reasonable. But according to the graph we just looked at, this is one point in which I went behind. I'm guessing it was counted as an inaccuracy because it didn't drop a whole lot. My idea, of course, I think it's obvious, was to castle really quickly. But I'm guessing, let's see, the problem is that I lose a pawn immediately. Perfectly understand that. So I'm guessing I should have got the other knight out. That's my guess. I'm going to turn on the evaluation here and look at the lines. Yes, I should have played knight to c3 or bishop to e3, which is here. Okay, well, either one of those would have left my bishop defending that pawn, so I guess, developing a piece. How bad would it have been if I had played my normal knight to e2? That would have been okay as well, just not as good as knight to c3, which adds a layer of defense to that pawn and allows me to play knight to f3. Okay, so we would have stayed even. Got it. So I went behind there. The next point at which I had a chance was right here. I'm going to turn off those suggestions again. My opponent played here, which was counted as inaccurate, and brought us back to even, according to the graph, and then whatever I played next gave my opponent an advantage. What I played next was a3. That's because I thought their knight was coming in here. But apparently their knight was not coming in there. I should have checked, is my guess. Knight to d5 check. Yeah, I don't see anything else. I'm going to guess it was knight to d5 check. That's one of the two moves, but it's not the best one. Knight to g5 is my best move. And it says they wouldn't have taken it. If I played knight to g5, they just would have put this knight back here on d8. Really? Well, I probably would have been more comfortable with knight to d5 check. And either way, it says my next move would be knight to b4. If whichever one of those that I played, although I'm positive if I had played knight to g5, most 99% of opponents at my level will just take it. They won't care about that trade, even though it results in a check. Of course, they could block the check with the pawn or block the check with the bishop, and we'd have another trade. So I don't think that would result in this knight going back to d8 and then me playing b4. But in this case, the king has to move, and it probably wouldn't move to the d file because of my rook, and it couldn't move over here to f6 because of the knight, which also guards that square, so it would have to go back to the back rank someplace. And then I would play b4, where it would be protected by this knight. But I'm not sure what the problem with this was. It was a preventative move, which is kind of slow, but it says it allows them to play h6. That's why that was so bad, or f6. F6, I guess I understand because it allows the king to move over so their other rook can come out. But instead, they went ahead and got the rook out. And I don't remember here. It looks like I had one more chance on the very next turn, so I'll just leave this on for a second. But here it says again I should have played knight to d5 check or knight to g5. And it doesn't say what would happen after I played knight to g5. Look at that. The rest of the line is just blank. But I didn't. I played b4. That's another reason that I put this pawn here, was so that I could play b4. But apparently I had to play this and then play b4. But that's a problem because of h6 and f6. Well, there's no obvious reason to play either one of those unless you're an engine. And an engine knows that I'm supposed to go knight to g5, and both of those pawn moves would prevent this. But neither my opponent nor I are an engine, so neither one of us was thinking I was going to put the knight here to trade knights for no reason. So they didn't think to play one of these pawn moves because they figured I wasn't going to go there. That's what it looks like to me. But they played a6 because it looked like I was maybe trying to come in here. And again, I was supposed to play knight to d5 check or knight to g5. All right, but I didn't, so I lost this game. If either one of you understands why those are the two absolute crucial moves, especially knight to g5, I don't know why it keeps listing that one first. That one looks ridiculous to me. I did in the first instance understand knight to d5 check, but I do not understand what makes this, a losing move to not play either one of those. But it was, and I lost. All right, well, that didn't help me much. Let's go on to the next game. The night before last, I ended the game in this position, being checkmated on move 56. It does look like my opponent was ahead most of the way, but they gave me one huge chance here in the middle game, and then we were drawn for some of the end game, and I gave it away there. So I'm going to look at this one place here. Okay, so that was a blunder, and what I played was queen to c2, and apparently that got rid of whatever chance that I had. My idea for that was twofold. One was to get out of the pin, and the other was to maybe go over here and check on a4 before they could castle. So yeah, what should I have done? It doesn't make sense to move the knight, does it? Because then they're going to get my queen, and I'll get their queen, and they'll get my knight, and then I'll be down 2 pieces. Are they saying I'm supposed to challenge here with the pawn? And then if they take, I'll take? I don't understand how that puts me up whatever that chart said I was, +3, +4. Yeah, I have no idea. Okay, let's turn this on and see what Well, it does say to take this pawn. I was joking about that, but that's my best move. And it says they won't take my queen then. You see that, right? And that's d5. It says knight captures d5, and they'll take with the pawn, and then I'll get their bishop for free. Oh, I'm probably missing something really obvious here, but why won't they take my queen? It says their best move is to take with the pawn, and their second best move is to give up the queen for this bishop. Okay, why won't they take my queen? Because now I can take their queen. Okay, we established that, but now they're going to take back. And how am I ahead when I'm down a piece? Because I can go pick up the rook and the pawn. They're going to play knight to a6. What? Or king to e7. Well, king to e7 is first. Let's say they played king to e7. I'm not going to take their rook. I'm going to play rook f to d1. All right. And then they're going to get this knight out. Now their rook's protected. And I'm still at +3 if I take the rook now. Okay. And they're going to take they're not going to take back, because if they take back, I'll get their bishop. Okay. They're going to save their bishop to f4, and then I'm going to save my bishop, bringing it over here. And now I'm up an exchange and a pawn. I do understand that, but how was I supposed to see that here? Well, so far this video has just been an exercise in making me feel not very smart, and I don't think I've been helped by anything. Because yes, I should be, constantly being aware that my bishop is kind of pointed down there, but this is not elementary. I don't even know if it's intermediate to take this pawn and expect that they won't take my queen. Yeah, I think if I played that, my opponent would assume I had blundered and they would take my queen. And then obviously I would take their queen, but I would expect them to take back. And I would have had to have been looking at this the whole time, because they haven't castled yet. So their rook is not over here defending that. If they had already castled, and when it got to this point, and I took here, they could just get this knight out of the way, and their rook would be over here protecting the other rook, and it would just be an exchange. But because they haven't castled yet, I'm just going to win the rook. I think I understand that. And I'm definitely not afraid of trading queens. Just way back here, it looked like if I had done that, they were going to get the queen and the knight, because I wasn't seeing this. Okay, next game. This is the previous night's game in which I got checkmated in this position on move 74. Now, having seen the graph, I do remember this game. This is the one where I felt like we were just kind of trading off barbs here in the opening, and it does look like I had a couple of pretty decent chances. But then somewhere, and I don't remember exactly where because it's been a few nights ago, but I do remember the feeling that I got, and you probably get this feeling on, many of the games that you lose, as do I. I got the feeling that my opponent suddenly wasn't making any mistakes, that suddenly they were playing really well, and they did. Now, it does say that my opponent made a blunder here somewhere near the end, but here, just as we entered the end game, we were dead even, and I had a couple of inaccuracies that slowly put me further and further behind. Now, I want to point out that my only mistake in the game was that the little yellow dot there, which is after I was well behind, and my blunders were either before I went behind or well after when I was about to lose. None of the moves here where I lost the game were blunders or mistakes. Now, that's incredible to me. So let's just, out of curiosity, let's just go here. And according to Stockfish, we are, dead even if both of us play well for the rest of the game. Now, there might be more than 2 moves that keep us even, but the 2 that the computer recommends are G6 and G5. I do understand G6. It, I guess, threatens the knight. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go. It says it would go to H6, which is over there. No, I said that wrong. It says if I went past, it would go to H6. But if I threatened it, then it would go to G3. I don't know why, if H6 is good, I don't know why it would make a difference which one of these squares I went to. H6 would be safe, and their rook is cutting off this whole rank. But I played B5. They're attacking this pawn, so B5 made sense to me. The problem, I guess, is that if I move that pawn, then they can just go get A6. Okay, so I did play that, and then now their best move is to take here. Okay, well, they were threatening that pawn too, and I guess that's why I should have moved it. Okay, well, this one seems obvious. There's nothing suspicious here. They're going to take that pawn. What can I do? I can take their pawn. That's my best move. I took it. And now, they can get this knight out of here so the rook isn't stuck defending it. That makes sense. And attack my rook at the same time. Or they can just go to h5. But they came after my rook, which, again, makes 100% sense. And I can either go to e8 or g8. e8 attacks the knight, but to me, that just encourages it to go back where it was. So I went over here to g8. And now, of course, they have another pawn. So they take that. It's my best move to take their free pawn, so I took their free pawn. So we're even on material, and my opponent has a very slight edge according to the engine, and it is their best move to go to e6 again, which is where they just were, or f4. Well, it is a passed pawn. I can understand why they would want to play that. But I have a vulnerable pawn here that I cannot easily protect, so they went after it. And here I have to play rook to g6 to protect that pawn. I thought if I played rook to g6, they were going to check me, and that's what it says that they would do. And then I would come up, and then they would check me, and that's exactly what I thought would happen, but it says that's my best move. And then I can't go this way. Once that knight's there, I'd have to go toward the knight, right? If I go to protect the pawn, they're going to check me with the rook. I have to come up behind my rook. It'll be the only legal move, I think, at that point, besides blocking with my rook. They're going to check me with the knight on f5, and it says I would go to f7 then, but I don't know that I would. Oh, I guess I would have to. I would have to either go to f7 or up here, and I couldn't go up there because they would take my pawn with check. But no, then I would get their knight. I guess I could have done that, but no, I thought I would end up in this thing of being checked, and I would eventually lose that pawn anyway. So I just decided to go this way, where I thought I could come down and maybe get behind this pawn. That wasn't even inaccurate. It just wasn't my best move. It is their best move to take the pawn, and it was not my best move to go check them, but I did. But it wasn't an inaccuracy. It just lost another couple of tenths of a point. Of course, their only legal move is to go that way, and now I need to play b4. Well, I saw another vulnerable pawn here, and that was my best move a turn ago, but now it's my second best move, and I lost another tenth of a point, maybe 2/10 of a point. Well, they moved up to protect that pawn. Again, I'm supposed to play b4, or just bring the rook back here, but either way, I'm losing a tenth of a point or so on every turn. I thought I should go after the knight, and then I could push this pawn up. Or maybe I could come over here and offer a trade, and I would end up with a passed pawn out of the deal. But I left the pawn undefended, and they just took it. But that was just counted as an inaccuracy, but now I'm down +2. And it just got worse from there. Let's see. Yeah, one more inaccuracy, another inaccuracy, another inaccuracy. And I didn't make a mistake until here, and I'm down +4 by the time of my mistake. But when I made my mistake, they didn't capitalize on it. But it's +5. So I was playing really well through here until this point where I blundered, and it gave them a mate in 10, but they didn't see it, and they blundered right back. But it doesn't matter. I mean, okay, I tried. But yeah, all this stretch here, I didn't make any mistakes or blunders. I just fell further and further behind. And I didn't mean for what I said earlier to sound like I suspected my opponent of cheating, just that it has that feeling of them not making any mistakes. But, when you look at it, you see a lot of their moves were relatively obvious. Going after undefended pawns, threatening my rook, and going after an undefended pawn, going after another undefended pawn, taking an undefended pawn, and so on. I wasn't accusing them of cheating. Their moves, I think, were more obvious than mine, but it's just frustrating when you lose and without making what the computer would say is a blunder or a mistake, just making the second best move and losing a tenth of a point turn after turn after turn until there's a mate in 43. And the night before that, this is the last position of the game. I resigned because I had fallen into this trap just a week or two earlier, and I don't know how. I don't know what I should have done about it. But here I have to move my king or take that knight with my queen. I think those are the only two legal moves. And if I move my king, then they're going to get this pawn and fork me. I think I even had a video where I analyzed that game. Or maybe I played that game. I think I played that game on camera. But I fell into that exact same trap again, which makes me think that there might be a video somewhere of people saying, here's, 10 easy ways to beat the Caro-Kann defense or something, because they just did that. Did I have a chance before that? Oh, the blunder was blocking with the knight. I should have blocked with the bishop. Or I should have blocked with the other knight. But their bishop move was a blunder, so they shouldn't have done that. They should have checked here first, but they didn't see it in time, I'm guessing. So maybe it wasn't, one of those traps to beat the Caro-Kann defense. Or maybe it was, and they just remembered the moves out of order or something. So what I had to play here was bishop to d7 or bishop to e7. Okay, but I am strongly considering not playing the Caro-Kann defense anymore. because every time I learn what to do about a particular attack, then my opponents start playing something different. And lately I've had a bunch of these f4s. Now here, if we back up just a second, this is a normal Caro-Kann defense. I've seen this hundreds of times. I've played d5. Now here they usually take, and I take back. And then we go on developing. But lately I've had a bunch of opponents at this point play f4. Now this one did it slightly out of order. Again, here even this early, they pushed the e5 first. Now I'm supposed to play d4 here. See, now I have to remember that. But instead I played e6, which is okay. And then they played f4. So yeah, I've had a bunch of f4 Caro-Kanns, usually not in this order. Usually they do that before pushing this pawn forward. But until very recently, I hadn't seen a bunch of f4s in the Caro-Kann defense, so I hadn't, planned anything against it. And now suddenly I'm seeing it all the time. So I'm going to, if I study this and try to learn that, then my opponents are going to switch and suddenly I'll start seeing a bunch of something else. So it's getting really frustrating, but I don't know what to switch to. The good news is the games previous to those 4, I think that was 4 in a row that I lost. These are the ones before that where I won, drew, won. So I was having a decent streak here. And even before that, I won another one. So I won 5 and drew 1 in a row, which, was pretty good. So it was, it was time to lose 4 in a row, I guess. Well, I probably did learn something from this video and it just hasn't sunk in yet. All right, not incredibly obvious, but maybe it's in my brain there somewhere. But if you understood any of the things that I said I didn't understand when we were looking at the moves, feel free to enlighten me in the comments, especially the knight to g5 thing. Let me know what that was all about. And if you have any suggestions as to what to play against e4, like what do you play against e4? Like I might not do it, but what do you do? Do you play the Scandinavian? Do you play the French? Do you play the Caro-Kann? Do you play the Sicilian? Do you just play e5 and have a king's pawn opening and hope for a fried liver because you know your way out of that? Thank you for spending your time here, and I'll see you next time.